What really happened in Nigeria after independence, shortly after freedom? From 1960 to 1963, Nigeria was a sovereign state with an independent constitutional monarchy. Nigeria shared the monarch with Australia, Canada, and certain other sovereign states. The monarch's constitutional rule primarily were mostly delegated to the Governor General of Nigeria at the time. Elizabeth II, as at that time, was the only monarch to reign during that period, and as such, she was officially titled Queen of Nigeria. The monarchy was abolished on the 1st of October in the year 1963, when Nigeria adopted a president as its head of state. This is Indigenous TV for news and entertainment, and on this platform, you are honored, you are respected, and you are most welcome. The Federation of Nigeria had already superseded the colony and the protectorate of Nigeria within the then British Empire on the 1st of October in the year 1954. Stay with me on this. The Federation also initially was a quasi-federal British colony. Over time, it became an independent, a strong force as a dominion within the Commonwealth of Nations on the 1st of October in the year 1960 under the Parliament of the United Kingdom's Nigeria Independence Act 1960. Queen Elizabeth was represented at the independence celebration by Princess Alexandra of Kent. She flew into Lagos on the 26th of September in 1960, being approximately 5 days before the D-Day, and was welcomed heartily to Nigeria by the good, great people and wonderful people of the country. On the 1st of October, Princess Alexandra presented Nigeria's instrument of independence, also known as the Freedom Charter, to Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who at that time was our Prime Minister. And on the 3rd of October, the princess formally opened the first Federal Parliament of Independent Nigeria on behalf of the Queen, before an assembly of people and many diplomats on that very day. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, President of the Nigerian Senate and Governor General Designate, addressed the princess, asking her to open Parliament by reading the speech from the throne, which she did. After which the princess later took a tour or a drive round Lagos, saying an official farewell to Nigerians. But before she left, she came with a letter from her superior, from Queen Elizabeth II. She came with a letter from Queen Elizabeth and her husband, which reads, "My husband and I return the happiest of memories of our visit to Nigeria, and our thoughts are with you on this memorable day. As you assume the heavy responsibility of independence, I send my good wish for a great and noble future. It is with special pleasure that I welcome you to our Commonwealth of Nations. May God bless and guide your country through the years to come." What happened after independence, even in our constitutional rule? Nigeria was one of the realms of the Commonwealth of Nations. The Commonwealth of Nations is a political association of 56 member states, the vast majority of which are former territories of the British Empire, and they include Australia, Canada, like I said before. They share the same person as sovereign. Sovereignty in this case is a title which can be applied to the highest leader in various categories. The word sovereign is borrowed from an old French word which is ultimately derived from the Latin superanus, meaning above. It gives Britain the power and right to access the resources of member countries within its confines of the so-called Commonwealth of Nations. And for me, it's just a gang up to make these nations, and if you look with what is going on from time till this very moment, what I've said still goes on, just to benefit Britain directly, and indirectly. Effective with and in the Nigerian Independence Act 1960, no British government minister could advise the sovereign on any matter pertaining to Nigeria. Did you get that? Meaning that all matters of Nigeria, when it comes to all matters of Nigeria, the monarch was advised solely by Nigerian ministers, not the other way around. The monarch was represented in the federation by the Governor General of Nigeria. Note, the Governor General was the representative of the monarch of the United Kingdom in the colonial Nigeria from the year 1954 to the year 1960. And after independence in 1960, the representative of the Nigerian head of state. This office, or the office, was created on the 1st of October 1954 when the colony and the protectorate of Nigeria created an autonomous federation within the British Empire. After independence in 1960, the Governor General became the representative of the Nigerian monarch. In another way, he became the eyes of the Nigerian monarch, which we all know. And the office continued to exist and to function until the year 1963, when Nigeria abolished its monarchy and became a republic. I'm trying to let you know what happened immediately after independence, and now we are here. Now, what also happened with the crown and the government? The crown here represents Britain. What happened to the crown and the government in Nigeria even after independence, but before we turned to become a republic? The government of Nigeria was officially known as Her Majesty's government. Wonderful. The monarch, the Senate, and the House of Representatives constituted the Parliament of Nigeria. All executive powers of Nigeria rested with the sovereign. All laws in Nigeria were enacted only with the granting of royal assent done by the Governor General on behalf of the sovereign. The Governor General could receive a bill for a queen's pleasure, that is, to withhold his consent to the bill and present it to the sovereign for her personal decision, or he could veto it completely by withholding his assent. The truth is that the Governor General was always responsible for summoning and dissolving Parliament. The Governor General had the enormous and enough powers to choose and appoint the Council of Ministers and could dismiss them under his discretion. Meaning, if he wakes up on a particular day and doesn't like their faces, he can just send them home. Send them home. And all Nigerian ministers that held offices, they held those offices at the pleasure of the Governor General. Now, what about the crown and foreign affairs? After independence, the royal prerogative also extended to foreign affairs. The sovereign or the Governor General conducted treaties, alliance, and international agreements on the advice of the Nigerian cabinet. Nigerian representatives abroad were accredited to foreign countries by the monarch in her capacity as the Queen of Nigeria. The Governor General, on behalf of the Queen, also appointed Nigerian in high commissioners, ambassadors, and similar principal representatives, and received similar diplomats from foreign states. The letters of credence were formally issued by the monarch, but I think that changed along the way. Now, what is a treaty in this matter? A treaty actually is a formal, legally binding written agreement between actors in international law. It is usually made by and between sovereign states, but can include international organizations, individuals, business entities, and other legal persons. What also happens to or with the crown and our courts? What did they do with our courts even after independence? Within the commonwealth realm, the sovereign is responsible for rendering justice for all her subjects, and is thus traditionally deemed the font of justice in Nigeria. Criminal offenses were legally deemed to be offenses against the sovereign, and proceedings for indictable offenses were brought in the sovereign's name in the form of the Queen versus whoever must have committed an offense or any criminal act. Hence, common law held that the sovereign can do no wrong. The monarch cannot be prosecuted in her own courts for criminal offenses. The highest court of appeal for Nigeria was the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, and criminal prosecutions was instituted in the monarch's name. The monarch, and by extension the Governor General, could also grant immunity from prosecution, exercise the royal prerogative of mercy, and pardon offenses against the crown, either before, during, or after a trial. What did they also do with the culture in Nigeria, with our cultural roles, the crown and our honors? What happened after independence? Within the Commonwealth realm, the monarch is deemed fount of honor. A fount of honor is a person who, by virtue of his or her official position, has the inclusive right of conferring legitimate titles of nobility and orders the chivalry on other persons. Similarly, the monarch, as sovereign of Nigeria, confers awards and honors in Nigeria in her name. Most of them were awarded on the advice of Her Majesty's Nigerian ministers. What about the crown and our defense? The monarch was the commander-in-chief of Nigerian armed forces. The crown sat at the pinnacle of the Nigerian Defense Force. It was reflected in Nigeria's naval vessel, which bore the prefix HMNX, that is Her Majesty's Nigerian ship. The Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Navy were known as the Royal Nigerian Army and the Royal Nigerian Navy, respectively. The prefix royal was dropped later when the monarch or the monarchy was abolished and a president took charge as the head of state. Now, talking about abolition, the monarch was unpopular with Nigerians, and all political parties in Nigeria agreed that the country should be a republic. Nigeria adopted a president of Nigeria as a head of state on October 1st, 1963, when the Federation of Nigeria became the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a republic within a commonwealth of nations. The Queen then sent a message to the new president at that time. Now, the president of Nigeria is a big nation. It's big, not for jokes. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the head of state the head of state and the head of government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The president directs the executive branch of federal government and is the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. The offices, powers, and titles of the head of state and the head of the government, they officially merged into the office of the presidency under the 1979 Constitution of Nigeria. Executive power is vested in the president till this minute. The power includes the execution and enforcement of federal law or laws and the responsibility to appoint federal executives, diplomats, regulatory and judicial officers. Based on the constitutional provision empowering the president to appoint and receive ambassadors and conclude treaties with foreign powers, and on subsequent laws enacted by the House, the presidency has primary responsibility for conducting foreign policy or policies. The president also plays a leading role in federal legislations and domestic policy making. As part of the system of checks and balances, the Constitution gives the president the power to sign or to veto legislation. This is how far and the things we have gone through from independence before we became a republic. This is Indigenous TV. I thank you and be good.